Hey, welcome to episode number 4,361 of Into the Lair. Missed you guys, we're back. And I wonder, Will and I have been getting a lot of questions about how I use auxes and kind of how I set things up. So I've explained this a couple of times, but I'm going to explain it again from a little bit slightly different angle this time. Auxes have or whatever your DAW calls them, where you take a bunch of tracks and you combine them into one stereo track, and then it gives you control over the process like nothing else. So let's jump right in and see what we got. This is a song by AVM, a group out of Chicago, my friend Robert, and I love this song. So I think it's going to be a great example of how this works, because I used it pretty thoroughly in mixing this record. I'm Not Crying Over You. So I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna start with the drums. Now this is a live drum kit, but it applies to anything you're doing. Now I can take all the drums and feed them to the aux. Now I can put compression on that aux, but now the compressor is being controlled by everything. So let's trim the drums down a little bit before we send them to the aux, and do a little bit of compression at that point in the stage. We'll do a little compression at the aux, and then we'll do a little compression on the stereo bus. Here's my kick drum, the way it sounds. Okay, now you can see here I'm parallel compressing. So let's take the parallel off. So by doing that, I've gained probably a little advantage. Now, same thing with the snare. Okay. Now let's send all that to our aux and see what happens. I've got 5 auxes, vocal, drums, music, bass, and effects, and I'll explain each one of them. Now, here's my drum aux. Now here's my favorite compressor on the drum aux. Now we can use this guy, or we can use just a traditional compressor. Now if we use a traditional compressor on the drum aux, let's shoot for a low ratio, 2-to-1, and slow attack. And so I'm gonna A-B the 2, and let's see if we can tell the difference. Let's start with the L2007. Just a preference choice. They both sound really good, but they both sound about the same. Now let's see what all this is doing when we get up here to our stereo bus aux. Okay, let's listen with my parallel chain off on the individual drums, the aux compressor off, and the stereo bus compressor off. And I'm gonna add these back, so watch the screen. Okay, so you can see how a little bit of lifting along the way, and then without having all the drums go to an aux, I couldn't accomplish this. And then the way I have a print track on my stereo bus, and then I use a master fader. You can see how each one of those affects the chain now. Okay, I'm gonna show you the same process with guitars now. Let's go, the two main guitar tracks are this red one and the green one. Okay, now they're being each sent to their individual auxes. I'm gonna highlight the auxes that they're being sent to. Now let's take the stuff off the auxes and see what we get. Okay, now let's go back to our music aux. Okay, all I'm adding is 2 dB of 800. It makes a big difference in the power of the track. So you can see we kind of grouped the guitars to their own auxes, and then I tied those two auxes together so I can manipulate them simultaneously. Then we sent those two auxes to our master, not master aux, but our like granddaddy aux for music, and then that's being sent to the stereo bus. Let's check something out. Once I get all this information to the auxes the way I want, I have a different level of control. What do I mean by that? Let me show you. If you look closely at the auxes, you'll notice that I actually have volume rides on the drum aux, on the music aux, and on the effects aux. Now, what I wanted to do, let's start from the bottom. The effects all go through their own aux. Now, on the first verse, I wanted a little less effects on everything so that verse would have an intimacy. Let's listen to a piece of that. Okay, so you see that creates kind of an intimacy, drier vocal for the first verse, and then the effects just increase through the chorus, and then I probably should have pulled them back a hair in the second verse, but I didn't. Now let's see what's going on. I wanted the guitars to have a little more power coming into the first chorus, so watch this. Here's the chorus right here. Now right here you'll see it ramps up a bit. I wanted the guitars to get a little bit louder. The end of the song is really important. It's a big build up. Now you can see I've taken the drums and I've ramped the drums up. So if I play you the song here, there's one level. Now you can see how powerful that is. Now here it's another level. If I didn't have auxes, I could do that with the individual tracks, but it's going to sound differently because then the individual tracks don't have a unifying, gluing element like the aux does with global compression, global EQ. You guys are smart. You get the idea. Another thing I like to do with an aux, if you look up here, I've got one of my favorite tape machine emulations. Now, I did this mix before Slate Digital came out with their tape machine. I like it a lot too. So here's kind of giving the whole mix that vibe as if I'd printed it to tape. So I'll do. It's pretty subtle, but it's noticeable. I love what that's doing. I think I'm using the Chuck Ainley smooth vocal preset. I don't think I changed it. So what have we learned? I think that it can be argued that nothing in the audio world is free. If you take an equalizer, plug in or analog, and put it across something, you lose. No doubt about it, you lose something. But no doubt about it, you gain something. So if you gain more than you lose, it's a trade-off. And auxes are the same way. Nothing is free. You lose something when you go to an aux. For me personally, I think I gain 99% and lose 1% because of the control I have. And auxes can be thought of as little blocks of energy, emotion, feel, vibe, and so it gives you a better control over those intangible factors than individual tracks might. One little aside, we all talk about how loud music has become and how it's in your face, there's no dynamics. Well, that's a function of the culture. The culture determines what we do because they tell us how they want their music to sound. Now we can lead, and I think that's part of the responsibility of an engineer to try and lead the culture, but at some point in time the culture demands what it wants. Now in the visual world, people are complaining that edits are too quick, like there'll be 20 edits in a second, and people follow that. People are playing video games all day, and they like a faster pace. Now the audio equivalent of that could be argued that people want their music loud and in their face. They don't want a 60-second intro. They don't have time or the patience to listen to a 12-song album. They want their one song, they want it quick, they want it loud. Now these techniques can help you accomplish that. Now, in accomplishing that, you can still maintain the dynamics and artfulness and vibe and feeling of the song by using this aux technique. Now that's not the only technique, but it's a tool that you can use to kind of get the best of both worlds. So just always remember, it's better to sound new than sound good. But on Pensado's Place, we try to do both. Next time.